chapter clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic.
All right, good day, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of College Volleyball Weekly. Yep, could be a third episode in 1 week, but how to get your man on your screen, or if you're listening, Jeff Nygaard of USC coming in ranked number 6 in the nation, 6-0, best start since 2015. If all the media is correct, 7-0 was the best start in 2015, and you were actually an assistant to that team. But let's talk about you, Jeff. 2025. I'm stoked to have you on.
Thanks so much for having me, Rob. I get to see you sometimes in passing when we go to UCI. You're a great representative of the sport. You're doing good things for us, so it's my pleasure to be with you.
Well, I appreciate it. You guys are always a good group and such a competitive team that you always bring about. So I love watching the battle. Just don't like to be in the losing end of those battles. But you know what? That's whole competition, right?
Competitors like to compete, and our guys are hungry.
Well, let's talk about your 6-0 Trojans. I mean, what do you credit this hot start to?
Well, the 6-0 is just the result of the process, because we got great leadership, we've got great seniors, we got a great freshman class that came in. Everyone's bought in, and I can honestly say that I've never had a team that's this tight and this close together. When they're not working together and competing against one another in the gym, they're hanging out outside of school and they're talking volleyball, eating volleyball. You know, you kind of want some volley dorks, volley nerds, that kind of people, but these guys are hungry and they're really invested. And what the 6-0 is just all of the work behind the scenes that they're doing, like in the weight room, taking care of themselves, committing the time, focusing on volleyball. So they're out there playing some good volleyball.
Wow. Well, you've got two top 20 teams that you've knocked off in the process of getting to 6-0, all while only dropping 2 total sets. I mean, it's one thing to win, but to win authoritatively, that's a big statement so far, especially playing January ball.
Well, hopefully that's a harbinger of things to come, because you know you want to peak at the end, you want to play your best when it matters. But we've also put a sense of urgency out there, saying the RPI hunt starts yesterday. So those first matches are just as important in any one of those. So getting those wins against all the other conferences, like when you get to the NCAAs and you want to get a ticket to the show and punch your ticket, that started before we even started competing. So that awareness has been a part of what we've been working on with the process, and they've bought all in. So it's been fun.
Well, it's results are definitely showing, but one of the things that I've noticed, at least from a fan perspective, is you've got a very physical and a massive team on the court, which is pretty amazing. And it could be bigger, but I believe Wesley Smith, hasn't been on the court yet. You've been going with another pair of middles. So talk about your team here.
Well, I mean, at one point it was funny working with Coach Sato for 10 years. Like, you can't find him in the huddle. And I just kind of look at that and I go, it would be kind of cool if you can't find me in the huddle. And I'm 6'9". So we got a couple 7-footers on our team. Right now, we've got Parker Tompkinson, who's leading the charge as a freshman, doing great things. And so you're seeing just him buying in. And that's a very competitive 7-foot volleyball player. So he's just growing and growing. And you saw him when he was just in club, and then he got into the NTDP program with USA and getting to train up and compete internationally. You're just seeing him just doing this consistently day after day. And so he comes in, he's happy to be there. He wants to learn. He's hungry. He asks a ton of questions. He's the first guy that puts a flag on volumetrics asking, hey, what about this? And did you see that? And so there's more process to him than just being 7 foot. And it doesn't hurt that he's 7 foot, but we also got great leadership in Guy Jennis, who brings, he had a couple titles, that he brings that type of awareness and what that took to get there to the gym. So we're coupling some tough and top younger guys with great leadership with our captain, Dylan Klein, and Guy Jennis.
Wow, that's a way to couple that kind of experience. You got we'll say the older leadership combined with the young guys, but it's a great segue because you have a young setter in Caleb Blanchette. You've got Noah Roberts and of course Dylan Klein. Quite the trio. You've got the quarterback running the show, and you got big bangers at the pins. And gosh, I didn't even mention Jack Duker. Uh, Not a bad set of tools to have on your squad, Jeff.
We definitely have some physicality. We definitely have some talent, but it's more of like what they bring to the table, what's on the inside, because it's not just like, okay, here's the physical guys. The older guys have reached out and really connected to the young guys, bringing them along, giving them opportunities to be leadership. So it's everyone on the team knows that they have value. Everyone on the team has the opportunity to be a leader. So that type of thing just pays dividends when it comes to the court because, there's 6 guys on the court. Of course, it's like Dylan Klein would probably want to get the ball in game time, but that's not the way this game's played. There's 6 guys that have to be able to handle that. And so just growing that top to bottom. And as you mentioned, Caleb, we gave him a fall. He had fall to train through and just work on his craft, work on owning his job and doing his role, doing a great job for us. And so, yeah, we could be a very young team, but just the work that these guys have put in is showing up on the court for us.
Well, Caleb, you brought up, but he also is in the Beach NTDP program. How is he managing to do both and be as competitive as he is and as skilled?
Well, I think you just nailed it. It's like being a competitor doesn't necessarily mean indoor, outdoor. And so he just continues to get better at volleyball. So he's able to transition quite a bit of beach into the indoor. He reads the game at a high level. He can play defense. I mean, he just brings all the skill sets that you have to be successful at on the beach to the indoor team. So I don't know of a hungrier guy for volleyball because he used to do scoring. He used to do reffing. He does beach and now he does indoor. And it's just volleyball, volleyball, volleyball. That's everything that's on his mind all the time. And it's great to be around because you can just teach him and coach him and he's willing to absorb it and go out and just make it his own.
Sounds like a pretty talented individual without a doubt. Going back to the entire team, on top of the 6-0 start, your program's achieved a historic milestone, and that's the 900th win for USC men's volleyball. That is amazing. Can you share a little bit about that, but also the fact that you're a part of that history now?
We just announced what we're doing. We're trying to get as many alumni back. We're calling it our Founding Fathers weekend. It's February 28th, just a little quick plug there. But the whole point of that is to celebrate the 1970 to 75 group, a lot of the old guard that were founding fathers of USC men's volleyball. And it's a very strong tradition of volleyball, of success. And there's a lot of Olympians. There's a lot of great volleyball players. There's Hall of Famers in that group. I could name a bunch of them. There's some guys that I'm sure that are just household names. You got a Celso Kalache, you got a Steve Obradovich, and you got Ernie Hicks. Dick Montgomery was a coach back then, and that just opens up the door for those Pat Powers and the, take your pick, Dusty Dvorak, Tim Hovland, all those top players. So that Founding Fathers for me just is that tipping point of just what this whole thing means. And 900 wins is the accumulation of all of those founding fathers, starting it back then. And I've been blessed to be a part of this program for 15 years, 5 as an assistant, 10 as the head coach. And to get 900s, it's like, in the day-to-day, you're just marching forward, trying to get the next point. And then, oh, we got to win and great. And oh, by the way, that's the 900th. It's kind of hard to put into perspective, but it just makes me feel proud to be a Trojan, to be a part of that winning tradition and that whole foundation and everything that's going on. It's just larger than just one win. It's everyone. Any Trojan that's been a part of it is a part of that win.
It sounds like an exciting time. Can you drop that date again? And who are you playing? I actually pulled up your schedule and
Nygaard at home, February 28th. So we're celebrating all the old school Trojans, and we're just welcoming everyone back, having a nice day, and just celebrating those old guard.
Sounds like a great time, and especially with you at the helm, you get to host them all pre-match, and I'm sure it's going to be some post-match festivities as well.
Absolutely, it's Trojan. We've got to get together. We got to have a good time, and it's about connecting and relationships and the Trojan family, man.
Yep. Well, hey, share a little more about your top contributors so far this season, because I know there's some additions you've already mentioned and key athletes who've really leveled up since last season.
I like how you say leveled up. I think that speaks to the commitment of just every single guy that's playing for us and coming to the program. The freshmen obviously are doing great things, but I mean, that was a talented class, just the class as a whole. But we were blessed to have a really great recruiting class that came in. And as we talk about, it merged with an even better, stronger, more mature, older guard with our program. I mean, I don't want to go on and on too much, but we did have a player of the week offensively and defensively last week, and Dylan Klein and Parker Tompkinson. I can talk about how we had a win at Central College just the other day, and every single guy got out there, and there was zero dip in performance, meaning every guy was ready, every guy was able to go out there and just deliver for USC, which is great. So our offense is doing a nice job. Our defense is, I've heard, is right now the #1 blocking team in the nation.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing on the analytics as well.
So we've got some tools and we've got some things to do, but we also know that this is more of a marathon, meaning we've got so much more to grow. And so we continually challenge our guys, hey, we're at this level. This is what we need. We need to focus on this and we need to grow that. So, I mean, I could segue this one for you. We get a good test this week with some top teams. Ohio State beat UCLA when they were #1. So Penn State's always a tough team. We know that this is a tough challenge, but competitors love to compete. I'll just keep saying that. So this is a chance for us to test ourselves against the host of the national title or the national championships.
Yeah, actually, it was a great segue because obviously you got to see Penn State and Ohio State at the First Point Collegiate Challenge. Was hoping to see USC out there again. I guess they went down to a 14 format, but essentially you get the same deal here in Columbus. But when you originally scheduled these matches, did you have the national championship site in mind to try and get that ingrained to your guys' mentality as the goal?
You always want to take a trip to where the site's going to be hosted because you want to get that experience of that travel. You want to familiarize yourself with the surrounding and the gym and all that stuff. So it's not, hey, we're here and everything's just chaos. It's more like, hey, no, we've been here. We have this experience. We know where to get food. We know where our families can go. So yeah, no, we want to plant that seed early. There's no doubt about that. But it's also a continuation of what used to be the Pac-12 Big Ten Challenge, and now it's just merged into the Big Ten. And so just getting those 4 top brands together, and it's just exciting for men's volleyball in the nation.
Oh, and that it will be all on Big Ten Plus, or is it going to be on Big Ten, the main network this weekend?
I don't think it's on the linear feed. I think it's still the streaming, but I know that the Big Ten is very professional. I've watched, I don't know how many women's matches. So we get to now benefit from the Big Ten plus the Big Ten network because the MPSF has partnered with them. So we get great exposure. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Well, let's jump to the rest of the season here. I know that you've got a few non-conference matches left with Dominican and New York. And then, of course, I get to see you on the home and home at UC Irvine. But let's talk specifically MPSF. What are your thoughts on the conference and what you can see competition-wise this season?
Well, how many, is it 30 titles that the MPSF's won? I don't know. I haven't done the weight against other ones, but at least 30 titles, and that puts us as a premier conference. That means that we're going to be the best of the best. We're going to be beating each other up. It's a snake pit, but that also, what's the phrase? Iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
When we get into conference, there's no such thing as an easy match. It just doesn't exist anymore. And so that means it's on you to make sure that your team is always prepared, to make sure your team is ready for that battle. You can't have a night off. Everything needs to be, we continue to improve, we continue to improve, we continue to work hard. So foot on the gas all the way through. So UCLA was ranked #1. I don't know how many in the top 10 there are from the MPSF. We're used to seeing at least 5, if not 6. So it's exciting. Every night has a potential to be just a barn burner.
Yeah, you even go even farther out to 11. You have Grand Canyon, Pepperdine, Stanford, then of course you guys, BYU, then
and it's early, so the rankings haven't really solidified in what's going on. So anybody could beat anybody any given night, and so it's a privilege to compete at the level to where you have to play good to be a successful program.
Yeah, what's crazy is everyone talks about January ball, but I haven't seen a lot of January ball performances by MPSF teams early on here because they've all come out looking really sharp.
There's a lot of good stuff happening, that's for sure. But, I back when I played and all that good stuff is like the team that won early may not have had the success and all that. You want to win some matches to get that taste and that hunger under your belt. And so the MPSF is proving that it's a top premier conference in the nation. So coming out swinging.
Oh, without a doubt, and especially since the last two natties have been in the MPSF, I'm sure that
Right.
you're wanting to continue that trend, huh?
It's a great trend.
Well, let's more on the other stuff in the MPSF here. There are some changes, and we talked a little bit about it, and it's been a discussion topic. And I thought I'd hit you up on it. Particularly, the first one is the MPSF utilizing the Big Ten for streaming and promotion and marketing. And wanted to get your thoughts because we, like I said, we shared a little bit beforehand, but I want to let your our listeners and viewers get a sense of what you're seeing on your end.
Well, for me, I'm excited for that platform, and it's going to be national. I've seen the Big Ten Network, and they do a really nice job of producing it. They're partnering with a number of different people. So, like, we got our own communications people going to be in-house doing our production. So, partnering with them, helping them learn the lingo and all the nuances of the game, just making it a great experience. So when people check out this high-flying physical action, they're just really bought into everything that's going on. So being national and getting that exposure is great for volleyball. For me, it's just an exciting thing that even like my mom in Wisconsin, because she'll consistently, where do I find it? Where do I find it? Like, hey, listen, here's our home. It's easy to access. You can watch it, and we can continue to grow the game. So getting that national exposure is key for volleyball to continue growing.
And with the Big Ten, if all of you aren't familiar with what they do, if you watch what they do for their women's teams, Nebraska, Minnesota, I mean,
Right?
they are doing some incredible things media wise, not only on social, but I'm talking about linear media and on streaming. And
Right.
I mean, that I think there are plans to have that highlighted or the same kind of highlight going on for the men's. Is that correct?
There's a lot of things that I'm hearing wind of, catching wind of. I've heard the creation of an MPSF network in partnership with the Syracuse Communication Department. So where that goes and how that is out or laid out and all that stuff, to me, it's just the more opportunity, more exposure, telling our story, getting men's volleyball out there. Couldn't happen at a better time with all the transition and what's going on. I just see it as like, if you're wondering what we need to be doing, that is hitting the nail on the head of how we get volleyball, more exposure, more awareness, all that stuff. And by the way, it's an exciting sport. It's high flying action. And I can't tell you how many football people have come over to watch the Galen Center and watching a game that they go, we had no idea it was like this. And for us, I mean, this is what we do every day. So you could even tie it to the Olympics, saying in the
Mhm.
Olympics, it's one of the top three sports that's watched. So this is an opportunity to grow that the awareness. It's not just, hey, we play in the Olympics and we disappear. It's like, no, we're going all the time. And these young men are buying in, they're working hard, they're doing great things. Our guys couldn't be better ambassadors and representatives of USC and what we are. So it's just fun to have this opportunity and platform to showcase what all of their hard work is.
Yep, and it comes at a great time because after seeing the record viewership from the women's national championship and what the Big Ten networks have done for those teams, the way they've pumped them up, I only see phenomenal things. I mean, more media, the better for men's volleyball.
Well, I mean, volleyball is growing. How many states now have sponsor boys volleyball? Is that 30 now?
I
And
believe
so
so.
you could tie those high school opportunities into here's more college opportunities. And you could even say the exposure with NIL. All of it is one big, I don't want to call it amorphous, but it's all bleeding into the same growing of volleyball, men's volleyball, women's volleyball, just growing volleyball in America. And who knows where that's going to go. And now there's women's professional teams growing up and conferences and all that good stuff. And maybe we get men's growing in America too. And who knows how far this could go, but it's exciting to say it's going up.
Yeah, and they definitely Big Ten has the resources to do it, and they're definitely showing the energy to do it. So I'm excited to see what they do. And although I think a lot of people view like, oh, it's just a UCLA USC thing. I think their intention is to bring that to the other schools that are within Big Ten. And is that a sense that you're getting as well?
I haven't heard that it's just exclusively those two brands, but I mean, those are two huge brands that could create that exposure and that momentum. I've heard that they're going to highlight the Big Ten, and then whatever they have for their spot, it could be any team that we're going to compete against gets that opportunity to be on that same feed. So I don't know that it's just those teams specifically, but we'll see. That calendar hasn't been shared yet.
Yeah, and we've seen some early matches like BYU and Stanford on those feeds as well, which is great. Grand Canyon was on the Big Ten, so um, the potential is, I mean, limitless at this point.
The potential is limitless, but we're already seeing that that potential is being realized, and we're getting those teams, and we're getting men's volleyball out there, and all of it adds up to better.
Yep. Well, the other question that has been asked is the format of the MPSF, and I shared with you before we jumping on was, I didn't know about the competitive schedule within conference play in the MPSF, and there's been a division between the D2 teams and D1 teams, and the D2 teams aren't playing the D1 teams, and want to have you address that because I had a lot of questions. I'm just looking for clarification, as with a lot of people.
Well, you got to lace together quite a few things when it's not just we're not playing the D2 teams. It's just an unbalanced schedule because you only get 28 and everyone's trying to hunt for that RPI. So how many is the perfect number of in-conference matches that you want? We all decided 14 was that. And how do you get 14 if you have a conference of 9? It's like you can't do a double round robin. You also have to factor in, does everyone have the budget to be able to travel to all these things? And then on top of that, you have the MPSF, which is trying to just grow its conference and create new membership opportunities. Not to mention all the exciting things that they're doing with this MPSF channel and all the other, here we partner with the Big Ten Network. So all of it leads into the decision of how we wanted to go about this. And so the people who run the MPSF came up with this unbalanced schedule. They were very sensitive to making sure everyone got enough matches and they got exposure to say, yes, you'll get these amount of Division Ones and these amount of Division Twos. And at the end of the day, we all agreed on this is the championship format and how it's going forward. So until we could get a conference that's going to be a true round robin or a double round robin, which we may never have, I just think that the unbalanced schedule is the way that we're going to go.
Well, it sounds like a great plan. Like I said, not knowing what the rationale was, like hearing it makes sense to me now. So,
well, I mean, they also have a template from all the other sports that MPSF sponsors saying, I think it's water polo, that they have a Division One part of it and Division Two part of it. And so they've created an unbalanced schedule that was a workable template for them. And I think that they use that idea as a concept for what they're trying to do with the MPSF now for men's volleyball.
well, it sounds like it's just working. It's going to work itself out as we go through the season, and it's me another exciting 2025. I mean, let's just be real. The action is intense. It's higher, stronger, faster on the men's side of things, and there's going to be some incredible play.
That sounded like the Olympic credo coming out of your mouth right there. That was a good little plug. But at the end of the day, we all get to play a sport we love.
Oh, without a doubt. Um, with Jeff Nygaard, head coach of USC, I appreciate your time here this afternoon. I know we have a small window, but I'm excited to have you on and would love to have you on again if you're open.
I'd love to. Thanks so much for the time and fight on.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.